Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 44 of Word Ninjas Live. We're back after a week's hiatus. Sorry about that break, but we had various crazy shenanigans to shenanigan. But we're back this week, and joining your instigator of literary insanity is none other than Will
Hello.
and Calvin.
Hey, you guys, how's it going?
Now, today we have various talking points and all sorts of little news bits, but seeing it as it is the day after Book Expo America 2014, and I'm sure you're not sick of our various videos about it yet, we're going to just do a quick little wrap-up summary of 3 days of ridiculousness. Because Book Expo America was ridiculous, but ridiculously fun. We did a lot more than I expected, and it was totally worth it. We've
Yeah,
managed to talk to, I've lost count of how many different authors and publishers and agents and editors and presses and everyone in between. So we're going to get a lot of people for interviews on future episodes of this podcast. It's going to be nuts, but the good kind of nuts.
I was waiting for either Will or Ed to interject that one.
I tried to beat them to it.
But yeah, that was quite a different experience, quite a new experience for me. It's like nothing I'd ever really experienced before. Like, I can't really say I've met too many authors in my life, but like I easily have met more authors in 2 days than I have within any space of memory, any space of recent or past memory. And it was really exciting getting to chat with them and just kind of feed off their energy. They were excited to be there, um, eager to chat with everybody, and it was just a completely new experience, and I had a blast there.
Yeah, we got to talk to a lot of awesome authors, and it was fascinating to see just how excited they were to be providing their books to all of their fans. And a lot of them seem interested in doing author interviews and becoming or like learning more about our show. I was expecting a little more cold calling equivalent to some of this, but no, they were all for it, which was fantastic.
That's a definite confidence boost for us.
Yeah, it's really gratifying to be able to talk to some of these people about what we're doing and what we want to accomplish, and their eyes light up just like ours, and they want to be part of it too. So we are looking forward to sharing with others in our literary insanity.
A little enthusiasm goes a very long way.
Hmm. And who knows, maybe next year we can get even more people involved, and hopefully get you as press.
Hey, I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
But yeah, if you want to hear just what we managed to obtain during our 3 days and what we thought of it, you can check out our playlist of 2014 events. So far, we have 3 book hauls and our summary of the overall event. So check that out after the show.
Yes.
I mean, you can check it out now if you really want, but then you're going to miss all of the live stuff, and that would be sad. So check it out after the show.
Yeah, stick around here for a bit.
Let's see. What are our talkie points for this episode? Let's see. The first one is, how do you incorporate travel logistics like distance, time, food, sleep, etc., without overloading a story? This one was only created because of last week's travel shenanigans. Yeah, I do not recommend to anyone that you drive 14 and a half hours in one straight shot, let alone do it twice in one weekend. Just no, it's not worth it. Don't do it unless you absolutely have to. If there's a zombie apocalypse, okay, yeah, sure, fine. But hopefully you at least have another person in the car to help have a driving shift, so you don't have to do it all on your own. I was curious how other people incorporate traveling into their stories, if they even incorporate traveling into their stories, or if it's just kind of assumed that your characters got from point A to point B somehow.
My characters stay in the same room the entire time.
You just have to be difficult, don't you?
Will does the equivalent of one camera, one room sitcoms.
Well, yeah,
Look for.
you know, budgets.
I really don't have an answer for this one because I've never really attempted to like put a travel montage in any of my stories. Uh, yeah, it just basically shifts in my writings. My like time and travel just like shifts seamlessly from one scene to another, or one point of the story to another. Wish I actually had an answer for this one.
No worries. As for myself, I've tried to keep in mind the whole concept of if your travel provides plot progression between point A and point B, I try to weave it in somehow. Or if it provides character depth or growth, or if the scene is just something entertaining to kind of lighten a dark mood or do a emotional shift from like one part of the story arc to the other, that's worth utilizing it for. But if not, I just tend to leave it on the cutting room floor because they walked for 3 days and 3 nights. Meh, it's not worth it. I can just say when they arrived at point B, stuff started happening again. We don't really need to see every single moment and detail and facet of their lives 24/7, unless it's that type of a book, and that's going to get pretty dry pretty fast. I
Mm.
mean, as an author, if you want to keep track of the food and sleep and biological logistics of characters over time, you can do that in your story Bible behind the scenes, but you don't have to necessarily convey it all to the reader. You can leave some of that to the imagination. Or at least that's the mindset that I've kind of been working with. Let's see.
Well, let's see. I kind of agree with that, especially with travel. Like, if you have plot progression that you can do, like, I find that traveling in a car is a good place when you need two characters to have a private conversation without anyone intervening. Sticking them in a car and having them drive somewhere for 10 or so minutes is a good time to do it. Because there's not much to distract you when you're in a car, and you can't really get out of a conversation you don't want to have when you're trapped in a car with someone driving down the highway at like 60 miles an hour. You're pretty much stuck in that conversation.
You haven't really listened to my driving rants then. I can get distracted.
Well, yeah, you can get distracted, but you're by yourself. If there's someone else there to keep you on topic.
Yeah, I need you in the car to remind me, like, CJ, this is what you were talking about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, I do that when I'm editing your recordings. Where you get distracted and you're distracted for 5 seconds and you go, what was I talking about? I'm like, CJ, you were just talking about X 5 seconds ago. How did you forget already?
Because squirrel.
Sometimes I think it is a squirrel. One time it was a street sweeper.
Oh yeah, that. I think there was a turkey once too.
The street sweeper recording is now live. It should be actually too. 'Cause that was in the recording I
that
sent
wasn't
you.
that one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That, yeah, episode 10 went up live yesterday at midnight.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to catch that one.
It's pretty entertaining.
Inspirethemuse.libsyn.com. That's the full master feed for the NSFWN show and future episodes of Word Ninjas Live. I can only put so many episodes up per month because of a certain uploading cap, but now that I've done the whole backlog of NSFWN, I can start doing the backlog of Word Ninjas.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, typically if there's going to be plot progression, I'll include details for travel. Otherwise, I just say, oh yeah, I traveled from point A to point B, and sum it up in like a sentence. They had a nice quiet trip from point A to point B. Whatever. Not important. As for time, it's a little bit trickier. I do use time jumps a lot to keep the overarching time flow in my head I have for the story. But typically I follow a rule of don't do big time jumps within one chapter. Like I'll do one chapter and it may take place in the course of a day or a couple days or a week or so at most. In which case I'll point out what day it is at the in between breaks. I'll point out how many days have passed or just say a couple days passed or imply what day it is. And then I'll save the bigger time jumps of several weeks or a month for in-between chapters. So like chapter 5 will be in 1 month, and then chapter 6 might be 3 weeks later or something like that. And I'll imply that some time has passed at the beginning of the chapter. Just to make it known that time has passed without having to...
Yeah.
My story is kind of like an everyday thing, and there are days where nothing happens. Because that's life. Some days you just go about your business and nothing interesting happens. I don't want to write those days. No one wants to read those days. So I skip them. And I go to the interesting days where stuff happens.
Yeah, it makes sense as a writer. Why should we write about the boring stuff? Because who wants to read boring stuff?
Some days they just get up, eat breakfast, go to work, do their work, come home, eat dinner, chill out, and then go to bed. And nothing interesting is accomplished. But it's okay, because we all need down days.
Sometimes a routine that sticks to the routine is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It's just not interesting to read.
Yeah.
And that's why we leave those out.
Yeah.
Or well, you should anyway.
Yeah. Not everyone does. Some people write them, and it's like, why am I reading this scene?
I was guilty of that in some of my very rough drafts. I have learned.
It's a learning experience. You read it back and you go, this was boring. Cut.
Nano word counts can do crazy things too.
Yeah, nano word count. Yeah.
For Nano, all bets are off, so.
But
In Nano, you go into describing every flavor and texture of breakfast cereal just to get your word count.
You got to make sure that the brand name is 3 or 4 words long, and you mention it every single time.
It's not just Smacks cereal. It's Post brand Diggums sugar flavored Smacks cereal.
I'm impressed you know the complete name of that cereal.
I ate a lot of Smacks as a kid. It's a horribly named cereal now that I think about it. Smacks, what the hell is that?
With Farmer's Cow brand whole milk.
Of course. Farmers, no, you go with the percentage because that's 2 words. Farmers brand 2% milk.
With extra vitamin D.
And judging from the taste, you expect that it's getting near to its expiration date. Look, that's a whole other, like, 6 words right there. Speaking of food, when it comes to eating and sleeping, I mostly leave that as implied unless the scene actually takes place during a meal or what would be sleep time, considering what I write. Sometimes certain activities happen before sleep, but in the bed.
Reading a book.
Yes, of course. Sometimes you read a book before going to bed. Yes. Yes. So otherwise, I just imply it that they eat and sleep regularly. I think the only time I point out sleeping is when someone has an odd sleep schedule. Like one of my characters works a night shift. She works like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Five nights a week, Wednesday to Sunday. So she doesn't get home and into bed till 3 a.m. So with an odd sleep schedule that's outside of what would be considered normal, I point that out because that's about my current sleep schedule right now, because it just happens. I have to point it out so people know that she gets in really early in the morning, goes to sleep at 3 a.m., and then sleeps till like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. She's not sleeping in late to be lazy. She's only trying to get her 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And now that she's going to college, that's getting shortened. It's like, no, you have to be up at 9, 8 o'clock in the morning for class and work after going to bed at 3.
Yeah, I know for last weekend, actual real-life travel logistics, a good portion of my 14 and a half hour drive from Connecticut to Atlanta, not a lot happened. Mainly because it was like 8 p.m. to 11 a.m., so there's not really any traffic that late at night.
Found that out coming back from New York.
Yeah.
Freaking 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did a drive like that once coming up from Long Island back up to Connecticut, middle of the night. Not a lot of traffic.
Yeah, 95, that's usually bumper to bumper. I'm going like 90 and nobody's caring.
Even the cops are like, it's late, whatever.
Yeah, I tried to do a couple of recordings during those drives, and there were points where I said, I'm turning this off now because there's nothing to talk about, there's nothing happening, whatever. And I'm going to get there hopefully sooner than expected because let's just say I'm not going to be doing the speed limit. And I didn't. But it's interesting to try and actually be aware of how time travels in your story, because time skips are perfectly acceptable. You don't have to detail every single little bit. And some things can be slower paced if you want it to have a little more sway to your readers, as it were. Or if it's a battle, you can make it a little more fast paced.
Or you could pull the Dragon Ball Z mentality on battles and have one battle last for like a week.
Please don't.
2 words, Namek Saga.
I just remember Frieza with this planet is going to explode in 10 minutes. 1 month later, this planet is going to explode in 9 minutes.
I like DBZ abridged take on that.
I haven't seen their take on that.
It's definitely worth checking out, especially for the Namek Saga, because they've gotten through that by now. They're now in the they're just hitting the Cell Saga, I think.
Ooh.
Or they're still kind of playing around with the androids a bit, from what I remember. But yeah, they actually take out all of the unnecessary time fluff from the Namek Saga, and we are thankful for it.
Good.
Hmm. Let's see. What was the other talkie point for today?
Talking
Everyone
point
gets
number
a
2 was, should you have one voice or style in your writing, or have multiple styles, and why?
Anyone care to take this one, or shall I kick it off?
I'll start with mine because it's particularly quick. Like in my years of writing, I can't really say not for lack of trying, but I've never been able to like really break outside of the narrative style of writing. Like that's just like literally that's been my style of writing since the very beginning. I actually came across a short story that I wrote in 5th grade, and it's kind of frightening how little my style has changed since then. Like just like pretty like relatively straightforward narrative style, lots of descriptions. You do have your like plot and character development and everything, but it's just very little has changed.
Maybe you just found your voice really early on.
It could be. Not that I'm complaining. It's just interesting to think about.
Hmm. I thought that I had a singular voice, but then I had to start doing different styles of writing, so I've had to create different voices.
Mm.
Mainly because like, for the business writing that I do, that's a very unique style. You have to have a very clear cut, like bottom line on top style for the voice, because you only have 500 to 1,000 words at any given time, and you can't really tell a story. The business writing, it's all about what is the point you are trying to state. You state that point, and then you provide the backup for it. So it's kind of reverse style to the stories that I'm used to writing.
Mm.
But for like my sci-fi pulp, that's completely different from the business voice. For the sci-fi, I don't focus on the characters too much. I like to play more with the conceptual plots in space because I really love the whole like 60s, 70s, 80s sci-fi pulp style where it was not so much about the characters but about the concepts they're trying to convey. The characters are just what help drive the concept forward. So I don't have that voice fully pinned down yet. That one's still a work in progress, but it's the concepts for sci-fi really fascinate me. Compared to both of those, I also have a fantasy voice because why have just two? I mean, for fantasy, it's the flip side. I do all about the character depth and growth because I feel like tech and magic logistics, you can get weighed down in those really quickly and it can be overwhelming for readers. So it's a lot easier to play with the characters and have the tech and magic support the characters rather than the other way around.
Like
And
unless it
that's,
plays like a very important role in the story.
yes. So let's see, for like my zombie apocalypse universe, that one is just weird within itself. It's kind of an anomaly. It's kind of dancing between both voices, which is probably why it's taken forever to figure it out.
Mm.
Because I have really granular tech details like the Q battery, which powers all of their weaponry and devices. It's really cool that I have it fleshed out that much, but I don't really need that in my voice on a regular basis for that story. Because
Right.
it's more about the concepts with that one and the characters are kind of balancing that out to a degree. There's an infinite possibility of combinations for voices with all of those. No wonder I haven't finished it yet.
I think it's good to have multiple voices depending on what you're writing, really. Like you said, different stories need to have different feels to them. And sometimes you have a restriction where you need to write in a certain way. I usually write in the, I guess it's supposedly a narrative, but if I remember my terminology correctly, it's the omnipotent narrator, wherein the narrator knows all and can get into the head and convey the thoughts of any character at any time. I mean, within a scene, I usually try to focus on one character specifically as the central voice character focal point of a scene, just to avoid confusion, not only for the reader, but for myself.
Mm.
It doesn't always happen. Sometimes multiple characters fight to be the focus of a scene. Typically, if they both are the focus of the scene, like two characters are arguing, sometimes you need to be in both their heads.
Mm.
Not just to convey what they're saying, but why they're saying what they're saying, which may not be interpretable just by how they say it. In the typical say one thing, mean another style of flub up that it happens to all of us.
There's probably only so much you can convey from one character's perspective about another's. Like, they're not necessarily going to read all of the body language of the other characters, so sometimes you need to provide the other person's perspective.
And it's good to convey that too. Like, one person will say something and mean it this way, but then include that the other person perceived it a different way. So then you're getting in both their heads, and then that can help convey action in a scene.
And usually frustration to readers.
Yeah, well, you have to be very careful about how you word it. But when you're trying to set up drama...
There have been plenty of times where I'm reading a story. Character, why don't you see what this person is doing? Why are you so stupid?
That's why I have Aiden, who is oblivious to everything. Or I usually point out, somebody made a gesture to indicate this. Aiden completely missed it because he's oblivious. How do you not realize this person is flirting with you? They were flirting with me? But yeah, I definitely have different voices for different styles. But I usually end up going with the narrative, but I wouldn't mind experimenting with like first person, where you just get it from told by one person. And I suppose you also have to deal with tense when you're talking about voice.
Yeah, that can get complicated pretty quickly.
Just make sure you know which tense you're speaking in. For those listening and don't know what I'm talking about, it's past versus present tense. And it's very, very important to stick to one tense. If your story is past tense, keep it that way. If your story is present tense, keep it that way.
If you need to go back and forth, make clear cuts in the story, or the scenes at least, to break it apart, so don't mix the two in the same paragraph.
No. It can get really confusing when your story is, say, in present tense, but your characters are referring to something that happened in the past. So your story is your narration is in present tense, but your characters are speaking in past tense.
If it's in the dialogue, that's a little easier to delineate, at least.
For the reader, but for the writer, you can get confused. You start using one tense and one thing, and then you kind of slip it in. You get so used to saying everything in past tense, because that's what your characters are saying, that it slips into your narration, or vice versa. So you have to be very careful with that.
This is why I refuse to do any time travel stories. I don't have the patience for tenses.
It's quite funny because we're actually rewatching Back to the Future, and we're watching the behind-the-scenes stuff, and it's quite interesting. I had to deal with that kind of crazy time travel story.
Well, at that point, you're dealing with all three tenses, past, present, and future.
Can you believe they actually tried to sell the first script of Back to the Future to Disney?
I can only imagine how that meeting went.
And they said no because of the scene with Marty and his mom in the parking lot at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
But that was perfectly innocent.
Oh, yeah.
It really actually was.
And Elijah Wood is in Back to the Future, too.
As who?
Do you remember the scene when they're in the 80s cafe and they have the old arcade unit set up and the two kids were trying to set it up and Marty shows them how to do it?
Yeah.
One of those two kids was Elijah Wood.
What? That's weird.
That's funny.
I forget which one it was. It's one of the two of them.
The front one, the one that's closest to Marty.
I thought it was the one in the back.
Nope.
So. Yeah, one of those two kids is a young Elijah Wood.
Wonder if anyone's ever gone up to him lately and just said, "I love your work so much, especially from Back to the Future 2." I can only imagine what his reaction would be to that.
We're going to have to find somewhere where we can actually ask.
Ask Elijah Wood. I loved your role in Back to the Future too. It's like, oh yeah, I was in that, wasn't I? I was like 10.
Is he going to be at Rhode Island Comic Con? Because it seems like all the big names are going to be there.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that one off air.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but that's all I have about voices.
And for viewers out there, if you want to respond to our talkie points, by all means, post in the comments to the video. And once the delay catches up to us, we will respond. And if you're doing this after the live stream, still post your comments to the video below, and we will get back to you because we do get notifications once they get posted. So we do like to continue our conversations. And we do not have a what if scenario for this week. So that means it's time for the highlights reel. And I did not I actually added to the website a book author, but I forgot to sync it with the back-end show notes. Thankfully, the book is within easy reach. And Calvin, you have a copy of it too, although you haven't read it yet. Mainly because I finished it this morning. Yeah. For our book and author highlight of this week, because reasons, Michael Cope's The New Earth... Michael Cap, I keep doing that. The New Earth Mythology, Part 1, The Invasion of Heaven. With corresponding bookmark, because why not? Although I don't think you're going to find that one on Amazon or anywhere.
Aww.
Yeah, I got this on Book Expo America Day 1, and I finished it this morning. And if you check out the show notes over at FC Writers for the episode page, this episode's post, you can find the link to it on Amazon and get a copy for yourself. And I highly recommend it to all because, holy crap, that is a fantastic read. Although it's book 1 of 3, and he's still working on book 2, and now he needs to speed up on book 2. Because this one is stories within stories, levels within levels, a couple inception points. It really goes into the whole concepts of who's creating whom within stories, and just what does fate have to play for an author versus the characters within his story. And a lot more than that. We will be getting this author on a future episode of this podcast. So, and we're probably going to be doing a spoiler cast even, because he actually wants to talk about the book, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully Calvin can read the book by then.
Yeah, I'm going to do everything I can to be caught up quickly, because I really want to be part of that podcast, that cast there.
Yeah. One thing I will say is this book utilizes the Chekhov's gun concept a lot, but he still manages to pull it off in such a way that you don't see how the Chekhov's gun is going to be utilized. So you're still surprised. Or at least I was. Yeah. Mostly this morning's reactions was nothing but, what? And then, of course, on the last page, son of a bitch. It's one of those books. So yeah, this is definitely an author worth checking out. First book is out. The second one is going to be out early next year. So stay tuned for more from that trilogy. And for our website highlights, we actually have 2 this week. Because why not?
It's a mentality for everything.
Excuse me.
We even decided that's our mentality on the Minecraft server, right, Calvin?
Yeah.
Because why not?
I keep forgetting that screen share doesn't like it when I have things in multiple windows, so let's merge all of that. Alright, the first one is from Writer's Digest. I was just perusing their site and found out that they actually have some free webinars that you can check out. So you don't actually have to purchase some of their webinars. It's nice that they have some free options.
Cool.
I mean, the first one was Get Paid to Write, How to Land Paying Gigs Writing Copy and Content. And Secrets of Successful Self-Publishers. That's something that a lot of us have talked about here and there, so it's cool that they actually have some webinars about them, and anyone can check them out. They do seem to cover a fair amount of useful topics for writers, like how to blog a book, which is very useful. Learn how to write compelling, authentic dialogue, voices in your head. Couple Meet the Writers. And Writing and Selling Your Memoir. That one's kind of relevant in context of Book Expo America because I think I have 5 memoirs in my stack of 29 books now. Apparently memoirs are really growing from what I've seen. So if you're writing a memoir, definitely check out that webinar over at Writer's Digest under their free book webinars page. And for something a little more fun and nostalgic, a lot of people will recognize the name LeVar Burton, perhaps. Or how about Reading Rainbow? Reading Rainbow is coming back.
Hooray!
You have no idea how excited I am about that.
This is the best thing ever.
Yeah, they started a Kickstarter last week, and their goal was 1 million.
They've tripled.
I mean, 1 million is pretty high for a Kickstarter, but come on, it's LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow. It was going to happen. They have a whole month to go, and they've already tripled that goal.
They hit 1 million in 11 hours.
Good Lord.
The first 11 hours, they were able to complete the Kickstarter goal.
Well, who wouldn't want Reading Rainbow to come back?
I know. If you want in on some of the various rewards, then you should definitely check out the Kickstarter because there's a whole month left to go. And chances are, at this rate, they're easily going to reach their next stretch goal of 5 million with minimal fuss. So, not only do you get Reading Rainbow back with LeVar Burton, there's going to be all sorts of rewards and shiny baubles and things that are worth becoming a part of. Because, I mean, the lowest entry is just like $5. Most people have $5 they can chip in. And they've even tiered it to like just regular Kickstarter rewards. You can pick a few things here and there. There are some limited ones that I wish I had the money to drop down for some of those. I mean, come on, $700, you can actually talk with LeVar Burton for 10 minutes.
Nice.
I just don't have $700 to drop down.
Mm.
There's some school rewards if you want to support a school or a district. And for my fellow nerds, there are Star Trek rewards. I do not have $10,000 to drop down on a visor, though. Kudos to anyone who does, though.
Mm.
I imagine somebody's going to get grab that one if they haven't already.
Not yet. It's still up for grabs. So if you have $10,000 that you want to drop down on the ultimate Star Trek visor package, definitely check out the Kickstarter.
And what makes this Kickstarter like particularly awesome is the goal, the overall goal for what they're planning to do. Like, the ultimate goal is to basically, among other things, archive complete all the episodes of Reading Rainbow, put them online, and subsidize the cost so that schools and classes that want them can get them for free. So, like, that is incredible in my eyes. And anyone outside of schools and different things like that can do a monthly subscription, I believe, and be able to have access to every Reading Rainbow video segment, book access, online book access, interactive projects, and so many great things. And I'm impressed at what they're trying to build here.
Yeah, I was excited when I think it was, I guess, 2 years ago or so, he created the Reading Rainbow app to kind of revive it a little bit. That within itself was freaking awesome. So to go from just the app to all of this is just amazing.
Taking it to the next level so like future generations and generations can have access to a resource that will help them for the rest of their lives. It really surprised me reading their infographic that in 2014, 1 out of 4 children are unable to read. And so, like, anything that can help drive that statistic, I'm all for.
Yeah, same here.
So anybody out there that's watching this or listening to this podcast, do yourself a favor, look for this Kickstarter and support the crap out of it. Support it in any way you can. The minimum pledge is $5. So if you can spare a $5 to LeVar Burton and this wonderful cause, please do.
Yeah, I think technically you can pledge even just $1. It's just for $5, that's the minimum to get a reward.
Oh, okay.
But I'm pretty sure the Kickstarter, as long as you donate even $1, you can be a backer to this. Yeah, $1 minimum pledge.
Oh, it's even better.
So yeah, everyone should check out this Kickstarter and support it if you are able to.
It's a little over a month to go, and any donation can be a big help.
And if you're not able to donate, then share it. Spread it
Yeah.
across social media. Let others see it.
Spread the word.
Actually, do that anyway, even
Yes,
if you do donate.
donate and spread the word, or just spread the word. But this is something I believe in. I'm pretty sure CJ, you believe in this one too.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the website highlights for this week.
I'm trying very hard not to break out into song right now, because I'm pretty sure we all know how the Reading Rainbow theme goes. It's one of those theme songs you never forget.
Hmm. Just don't do the community version.
Mm.
Yeah. And for those of you out there that have not seen the community episode, after this and after checking out our BEA videos, look for that. That's your homework for the week. But yeah, those are our highlights for this week. All the links can be found in the episode show notes. Again, fcwriters.com, Word Ninja's live page. It's the first one on the list. All right. Let's see. Now, I shouldn't have taken it off of screen share. It's time for Muse Food.
Whee!
I keep forgetting that I reordered it all so that I don't have to take myself off of screen share for that. All right. Set it up. And back onto screen share. All right. As always, every episode we try to provide various formats of writing prompts. We generally provide 10 one-liners, 10 one-worders, and a combination of Rory's story cubes for those that need a more visual type of inspiration. And seeing as there are 3 of us on the show this week, we each get a segment. Claim your segment now, or I shall mandatorily volunteer people's.
I would like to take the story cubes.
All right.
I'll take the one-liners.
All right. I will take the one-worders then.
Before we begin, one of your one-liners, I see you appropriated one of them from yesterday.
Maybe.
All right, so this week, the one-line writing prompts are: the best grandparents make the worst parents. Why do you keep delaying my demise? I've lost feeling in my foot again. This is really happening, isn't it? Go big or go small, size is personal preference. It's not a secret base if you have a billboard saying where we are. If you don't live for yourself, who do you live for? Helen's a bitch. I'm sensing there's some
That's an insider one.
yeah, an inside joke on that one. All right, so where are we now and what day is it this time? Get some sleep. You look like a damn raccoon.
Yeah. A lot of those are referencing the weekend.
Oh, good times.
Indeed. As for the one-word writing prompts this week, we have Press, Sword, Pandemic, Ravens, Pillow, Whisper, Extracted, Obsidian, Steak, and Southern.
All right, it is Story Cube time. Let's see what we got here. We have a person digging a hole, a pretty deep one at that. We've got a skull and crossbones. We've got some Japanese architecture. The name escapes me right now. If anybody knows what that is, please help me out. We've got a puzzle piece. We've got an inquisitive monkey. We got a talk bubble. We have an L in a square. We have a person crying, obviously in some sort of distress. And we have a capsule of some sort. I wonder what is inside that capsule. I will leave that up to you.
It would be nice to get the creator of the Story Cubes on someday so we can ask, what does the L image actually mean?
Yes.
Clearly, it's his love for Luigi.
Mystery solved.
That would be absolutely great if that was actually it.
And as always, if you happen to create a short story or flash fiction piece based off of any of these writing prompts, we would love to read it. You can send us a copy of it or the URL where we can read it to our email address, which is wordninja@fcwriters.com. Let's see. And now I can take myself off a screen share, I think. Let's see. Next segment. Oh, it's everyone's favorite segment. Goals. How did everyone's goals go since last time?
Let's see. I said play all of the catch-up. I played most of the catch-up. There's 1.5 things I need to still try to work on. But one of those things involves a person that is not getting back to me. But if they get to me, I'll get back to it. Otherwise, I'm just about caught up on everything. The month of suck is finally over, and now I can hopefully get back to normal life again.
Wasn't the month of suck like 4 months long?
The previous months were the months of sadness.
Oh, right.
This was the last month was the month of suck.
You need months with less alliteration. Sadness and suck, we need something different.
I agree. How about a month of booze? That'd be great.
I'm all for that.
Check out our book haul that we will post today, and there, booze is covered.
That's about it.
Let's see. As for myself, I have made various levels of progress on various secret stuff for various secret projects. Some have more progress than others, but are still not quite ready to be revealed to the public yet. And MomoCon, I made it. Travel was ridiculous, considering that I ended up driving there and back rather than flying, because why would I do it the easy way? Why would I be allowed to do it the easy way? I missed every single freaking panel I wanted to attend, for one reason or another. And I did a bit of networking, but again, not as much as I wanted because I didn't manage to get press status for that one. I was a bit rushed, so I didn't make the cut. And we didn't get any media or content because everyone's respective schedules were just too frantic and crazy, so this ended up just being a vacation for me, really. It was a time to chill out, have fun, and not really do much productive-wise. And then another goal I had was Kineticon inventory. For the buttons, we have almost a third of them properly formatted. I have not started printing and cutting and prepping them yet. That's going to be this month. Booklets are an ongoing battle in various stages of development. And we do need to work on the battle strategy at some point, which is hopefully this month, since Kineticon is next month.
Yeah, not much of a choice there.
Yeah. And Book Expo America was not on this list, but I think between this episode and all of our various other videos on it, it was pretty much covered. And that's it for me for previous goals.
Alright, for me, I was going to wage war with my muses and get working on Chapter 25 of My Roommate's a Stripper. The muses won that battle, unfortunately. They're, I guess they wanted a vacation, too. Returned to editing Clash of the Storms, didn't even look at it. Booklets, I did nothing for booklets. I need to talk with you about that, CJ.
Yeah.
Not suitable for Word Ninja editing. I did do that. Yay!
Yay.
And flailing about prepping for Kineticon. Flailing commencing.
Yay. And kudos to you, sir, for getting that episode out in such a quick amount of time. I really do appreciate that.
It was last minute. I'm like, oh, wait. There needs to be an episode out. Alright, I have 2 days to edit this out.
Yeah, I realized, wait, it's the end of the month already? Crud. Who's doing this episode?
Once again, it's pretty much just a whole collection of your driving rants, but most of them are talking about Terror 2015. So they all kind of work well together.
Nice. I still got to send you all of the stuff from our weekend of ridiculousness, so we can start working that into a couple episodes. All right, how about future goals? Oh, I didn't update mine properly. Surprise, surprise. I'm going to continue my secret meetings, shenanigans, and preparations and stuff behind the scenes, so that once we're about 75% prepped, I can actually start talking about all of these things that I'm teasing that no one knows about.
So we can actually know what Indigo, Meerkat, and Pickle represent?
Pickles. Yes. Interviews. Actually, next episode, teaser, we're getting Wayward Raven Studios on for episode 45. We're actually hoping to get 2 or 3 of them on. So we're going to have a whole panel discussion about their graphic novels and their recent Kickstarter, which was successful. We are hoping to get Michael Kep on for a future episode sometime either later this month or next, depending on logistics. And after Book Expo, I have about 20 cards from various people that I need to categorize, prioritize, and get in touch with. So I think for at least half a year, we have enough people that we're going to eventually get on the show to provide all sorts of interesting interviews and content. And then, of course, Kineticon inventory is just ongoing for the rest of this month.
Let's see. Mine are not so broken down, but I definitely need to work on My Roommate's a Stripper. I think I'm finally getting back into the mental flow where I might be able to work on that. Still really would like to get back to working on Clash of the Storms, too. might work on something just for me. A little bit of maybe therapeutic writing, you know? We all need to do that sometimes, just create for ourselves instead of for other people. But of course, there's prepping for Kineticon, and namely the panel I have to lead.
I got one too. Although, granted, mine's at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, mine's at what? It's 10 now. 10 on Friday.
11.
11.
11 to midnight.
11 to midnight on Friday.
Saturday, I think.
Saturday, Friday. When is it?
I'm pretty sure yours is 11 to midnight Saturday. Mine is now Friday from 1:30 to 2:30.
Okay.
Although they upped my room from 100 seats to 125.
Ah,
Wasn't mine like 200?
You're 250.
Oh, good God.
Jeez.
I'm pretty sure.
That's going to be a very big, very empty room.
Well, at the moment, there's no other panel going on at the same time, so you are completely uncontested.
Oh, fuck me.
Not in the podcast. Not at the panel either.
booze into this one.
No, that wasn't literal, that was figurative.
This is an 18-plus panel, yes, but come on.
Well, it'll be literal at the panel, but for now it's figurative. And I put down other stuff because I feel like I'm forgetting something, and I can't remember what it is at the moment, so blanket bullet, other stuff.
Should be easy enough to accomplish.
Next week it'll say failed next to it, you watch. It doesn't help that Mario Kart 8 just came out.
Oh dear.
All of the distractions.
All of the distractions. But that's all I got for now.
And how about Zeke Alvin?
Let's see. I got 3 bullet points so far. I said I'm gonna continue playing catch up on my work. Make sure all the audio and video equipment is ready and up to speed for Kineticon. We actually did a dry run with the AV equipment yesterday, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, if you check out our summary of Book Expo, that's what we utilized.
I was very proud of that one. And hopefully this week I can try to work on something creative for myself. I really have been like unable to work on anything like creative music, anything for like the last few months for various personal and emotional reasons. So I want to try to complete something. Like there have been a couple of things that I've gotten started, like jotted down ideas here and there. I've probably mentioned a few of them over previous podcasts, but none of them have panned out, and it's gotten a little frustrating. So I want to change that.
Be productive.
I'm working on it.
Or someone will throw a ninja cube at your head.
I will throw a Marcus at your head.
Please don't. That is a lot of cat. He would break my neck.
All of the cat, right? You want people to be productive, right? Be creative and productive? Yeah, you do.
He's like all of the not caring.
Marcus says, be productive.
Is he getting bigger?
Does he look bigger?
He always looks big, but he looks slightly bigger.
Did you grow more? Oh.
Either bigger or chunkier.
You get chunky. We need to put you on a diet.
He's like, who, me?
On that note, it's time for events. The list just keeps growing.
uh,
We managed to wrap up MomoCon and Book Expo, but now more are getting on the list, so it's just balancing out. The next big one, we have this month off-ish. We're just preparing for Kineticon in July.
Off what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there is no day off.
Where the entire full Word Ninjas crew is going to be there. Our affiliate, Itty Bitty Sheep's going to be right next door.
Whoop, whoop.
We're going to have 2 panels. I'm doing one on why writing alone in a group is for you. Will is covering one on adult romance writing. Thankfully, that's the only one in July. I think that's as much as we can handle. Got a couple in August coming up, one of which we're attending, Inconceivable, in Massachusetts. Eventually, we need to actually figure out the logistics for that one. At some point, we got to figure out logistics for if anyone's attending New York Comic Con, which is in October. Thankfully, that's a little ways away. The newest one that has been put, or at least suggested, is Rhode Island Comic Con in the beginning of November, because various awesome peoples are going to be there as special guests. So
The only reason it was brought up here is because Vic Mignogna is going to be a special guest.
Shush! That's the only reason I found out about it and I looked into it more.
it doesn't help that Colin Baker is going to be there.
There's like a whole list of like Star Wars and Doctor Who and Star Trek and
Everyone.
yes!
All the
Yeah.
people.
And it's in Providence, which, if I remember this convention center correctly, it is a decent-sized facility.
Yeah, that one we may be attending at this rate as well. So yeah, we got a full year ahead of us. But Kineticon is the big one looming on the horizon. So stay tuned for more talk and flailing about that one. There will be a lot of flailing.
And not the good kind. The panicky kind.
Yeah. Alright, with that, it is time to figure out who we are brought to you by this week. Who has a D6?
I always have a D6. 'Cause
Roll that D6.
If I can get it out of the bag. Oops. That is a D10.
I don't have that many people brought to us by. Not yet.
There we go. D6. Number 4.
Alright, this week, this episode is brought to you by Ed again. Ed and his art.
Last time, pick somebody else.
Well, it's the roll of the dice. I mean, if you want to roll again.
You want me to roll again?
Oh yeah, let's promote somebody else this week.
Alright, I'm rolling again.
Not fair, 2 weeks in a row, or 2 shows in a row.
I hope it's a 5.
You make it a 5.
No 5. I know what 5 is.
Yeah. Well, in that case, this week is brought to you by Will.
Oh, it's a 2.
Oh,
I rolled a 2.
that can be an upside down 5 depending on the font.
No, that's the 5.
Lame. If it's 2, then we are brought to you by the Fairy Tale Podcast. Fairy Tale Podcast is a weekly stream hosted Monday nights around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check out their channel for manga, fanfic dubs, cosplay reviews. I know they're planning on getting some more guests on from Funimation in the future. So they're definitely worth checking out. You can also find me on there most of the time as Makarov. So they are definitely worth tracking down. At some point, we probably need to reorganize the brought to you by section so it's a little easier to manage. As fun as the rolling of the die is.
Was there another brought to you by that you were considering doing?
Well, it used to be if anyone donated a certain amount, we were brought to you by them. It
Oh.
should.
When you mentioned possibly yesterday.
You think I know? You think I remember what happened yesterday? I don't remember things that happened yesterday. I
Hint,
don't remember what happened this
10
morning.
seconds ago.
hint, raffle.
Oh yeah. On top of all of that, because of that reminder, this episode is brought to you by none other than Spencer Hill Press. Because I feel like half the books from our book haul are from them. And they are fantastic people. To give you an idea, this has 6 books and various other shiny baubles, all from Spencer Hill Press, that we are going to get to read and review, and hopefully get to talk to some of the authors and cover artists and everyone else from that group.
I approve of them.
If Calvin approves of them, you know they have to be good.
The official Calvin seal of approval.
So yeah, we are brought to you by all of those things. It's episode
All things
45.
are awesome.
That's special. We can do what we want at this point.
Precisely.
Now with that, if we entertained you in any way, shape, or form, you can show your appreciation by various methods. The easiest is just hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. So you can check out all of our future episodes and take a look at all of the past episodes of our podcast. We're doing more book reviews again. We just did all of our book hauls and summary of Book Expo. We're going to be doing that for Connecticon in a month. That's going to be nuts. All of our upcoming author interviews and trade interviews, if they're not on the podcast, we're going to get them up on the channel afterwards. So whatever content we can put up there that we get, it's going to happen. So subscribe so you can stay up to date. And while we are primarily privately funded at the moment, if you want to help fund all of our various endeavors and help making us get to Rhode Island Comic Con a little easier to negotiate, you can go to fcwriters.com, go to the Word Ninjas Live page where all of our previous episodes are, and there is a convenient PayPal donation link right at the top. And you can choose a monetary donation of your choice. If you happen to hit certain levels, we give rewards back to you as thanks. Our rewards are nice and simple. For a single $1, you get a shout out on a future episode of the show. If you want to promote your site, social media account, your own podcast, or if you want to just say hello, it only takes $1. For $5, you can ask a talkie points question, a what-if scenario, or you can provide an author, publisher, YouTube channel, or a website to highlight on a future episode of the show. For $10, just $10, you can sponsor an entire episode and join us live. So if you want to talk to us in real time and join in our discussions, $10 will do it. With the fine print of, if under 18, please provide parental consent for live stream attendance and subsequent posting to YouTube. And that is chronological age. If you happen to be like 42 but act like you're 16, you'll be in good company, but you'll be fine. And with that, unless anyone has some last-minute commentary, we are going to wrap things up.
I got nothing.
All good.
All right.
Excuse me.
Well, in that case, checking the comments before I completely close things out. We already have a story for the story cubes. Oh my.
Hmm?
We actually had a pretty quick show, so you know what? Let's wrap things up with this. Uh, our number one fan, Jessica, provided the Story Cube story, and it's
Sweet.
comparatively short considering it's a YouTube comment. So let's toss this in. First story for the Story Cubes. The man started to cry because the pirates made him dig himself a hole and sit in it. They sent him a box that was deviled by a monkey. Uh, that box had an L on it for some reason. The box had an L on it for some reason. When he looks at the pirates again, they were carrying something that looked Japanese-like. After a week in that hole, just staring at the box, he decided to open it. In that box was one puzzle piece and a pill. That's disappointing. 3 days later, some people found this hole. When they looked inside, there was a dead body with a pill in his hand. I wonder what happened to the puzzle piece. Poor guy.
I approve of that story.
A++.
Yes. But see, that's all it takes. Nice, quick little flash fiction. If you send it to us or provide it to us, we'll get it on the show. All right, with that, we are going to wrap up episode 45, which means it's time to tell our viewers just who are we crazy people and where can they find us on the internet. Let's start with Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Calvin.
Okay. You can find me at a bunch of places.
Could you specify those places?
All right, I will. You can find my personal website and portfolio at calvin.cwillia.ms. It's calvin.cwillia.ms. You can also find me at the music website Riffraff. That is riffraff.net, riffraf.net. On Twitter and the Instagrams, I am at ccwii. On Tumblr, I am Instacal, INSTACAL. And on SoundCloud, if you're interested in checking out some of my music and my beats and musical brain farts, it is soundcloud.com/cdubny. And that about covers it.
And how about Will?
Let's see, you can find me in a few places as well. My personal Tumblr page is darkhom.tumblr.com. That is DARKHOM. It is not safe for work, and it is certainly not suitable for word ninjas. I have a writing Tumblr where I post everything for My Roommate's a Stripper. It's myroommatesastripper.tumblr.com, also not safe for work. There is also now an Ask blog related to My Roommate's a Stripper called askaroommate.tumblr.com. Let's see, I have SoFurry at darkhome.sofurry.com. You need an account on that website to view not safe for work material, but it is free if you're interested. And my never used Twitter is at Will Granville. And information on the commissions that CJ mentioned earlier can be found on my personal Tumblr page.
And as for myself, you can sometimes find me on my very quiet Twitter handle, silver_wolf85. You can usually spot me on the Fairy Tale podcast as Makarov, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Mondays via YouTube. My personal Tumblr is fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. It's 90% safe for work. Every once in a while I toss something on there, but I'll tag it accordingly. And as for Full Coverage Writers, which brings you this show and everything else that we do, you can check it all out at fcwriters.com. If you're listening to the audio podcast version of this, our YouTube channel is wnja.us/YouTube. The easiest way to track it down. Our literary Twitter handle is @FCWordNinja. Our literary Tumblr is fcwordninja.tumblr.com. For Facebook, it's facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. And for anything and everything else, you can just email us over at wordninja@fcwriters.com. And that wraps up episode 45 of Word Ninjas Live.
Correction, it's episode 44.
44. That wraps up episode 44 of Word Ninjas Live as I look in the tiny corner of the Google Hangout saying 44.
45 is next week. I know you're excited about that one.
Yeah. Tune in next Sunday for our interview with Spencer, not Spencer Hillpress, that's not up yet, with Wayward Raven Studios. Trying to keep them all straight. There's a lot on the list, so it's getting a little complicated. But yes, episode 45, which is next week, is Wayward Raven Studios. And we're hoping to get 3 of them on for that episode, so that's going to be a lot of fun. If you can tune in, definitely try.
I second that.
Yeah, that wraps it up for this week. Until next time, all. Peace out.
Take care, guys.
Later.